yesterday, in an attempt to establish that he's not, in fact, an anti-Semite, RFK Jr. appeared with Rabbi Shmuley. Yeah, exactly. He appeared with Rabbi Shmuley in New York City. Shmuley tweeted out the following with a quote from RFK from inside the hall. Quote, "If a Palestinian wants to criticize his government, he better do it in Israel." Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the quote that he was very proud to attribute to his friend from that evening. Aaron Mate makes the exact point I was thinking of here. RFK Jr. is cavorting with bigots to support an apartheid government, even putting aside basic human decency. Politically, it makes no sense. The Israel lobby will never back him. They have both parties already, and being pro-apartheid is a loser with the Dem base, especially youth. Dem base, I would, it depends on what you're talking about by Dem base. I mean, yes. The shit libs don't really care, right? But it's certainly a loser with his base, right? It's certainly a loser with the sort of rebellious anti-establishment base of support that he has garnered. This is why it politically makes absolutely zero sense. You talk about overcorrecting. Like, yeah, he was smeared as an anti-Semite. I don't believe he's an anti-Semite. He's the opposite of that in many ways. But talk about just the unforced error of having to go here and give this talk with this guy in order to grovel to a base of support that is not going to back you. Like the ultra diehard Zionist Democrats, those are establishment Democrats. They want you out of the way. I don't understand what he thinks he's doing, what he thinks he's gaining by doing an event here. And when we look at what happened outside the event, we'll get to an episode that happened inside. But outside the event, we saw Jews protesting him being there. The state of Israel is not the answer to anti-Semitism. Support to Israel is not supporting Jews or Judaism. Here's an interview with one of these protesters right here.
Media accused this politician of being anti-Semitic, and now he's trying to prove that he's not anti-Semitic by saying how great Israel is. Does that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me because, like I said, this is the general perception that's given very successfully done by the Zionists as a ploy to gaining support and to stifle any opposition to the state of Israel is by equating and convoluting and the two concepts of Judaism and Zionism, even though it's really both contradictory, and it's just so blatantly wrong. Judaism is to serve God, to be peaceful, to be loving, to do kindness. Zionism is a truly selfish political movement of occupying another people. So wrong, so vicious, so anti what Judaism is all about. And it's totally humiliating to us as practicing Jews to see and hear what is being done in our name.
Supporting Israel is not support for Jews! Supporting Israel is not support for Jews! Supporting Israel is not support for Jews!
AIPAC, for instance, and the other Zionist organizations makes it a point of attempting to have every single faction in the United States or around the world, any political group, whether it's Democrats or Republicans or independents, it really doesn't matter. They want to actually equate and convolute the issue of Judaism and the Jewish people and the state of Israel, and try to create a mirage, a concept that if you're opposing the state of Israel, you're anti-Semitic. And in truth, Israel and Zionism, what they're doing is the greatest exacerbator of anti-Semitism around the world.
So there you have it. I thought it was important to just play that all the way through because that's a perspective.
We call based.
Yeah, based.
That's what the kids are calling based these days. That is a based-ass rabbi.
That was a based-ass rabbi, that's for sure. And that's a perspective we very rarely get to hear. And so I just wanted to play that all the way through because, as a couple of JOOs ourselves, Russell and I, we like to see that. It's important. It's a very, very important message to hear, and it's something that we don't get to hear very often. And so, good on them for being there. Big Mad Crab from the Indie News Network was out there. Jose Vega was in the audience. I think Crab was in the audience as well. So was Blue Moon Red Wine. I hope I'm saying that. She has a YouTube channel. She was there. So you had a lot of people there, not necessarily there as voices of encouragement, but people who were quite disappointed to see RFK there. I think for a lot of people who see some value in his candidacy, this just it's an unforced error. It makes absolutely no sense. All right, so let's go to the inside of the hall here. And this is courtesy of the Indie News Network. Good on them for getting this video. Intense Gaijin Girl 2004 and Shmuley get into a heated exchange over the assassination of U.S. Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akleh and urges RFK to have a conversation with Jewish Voice for Peace. So let's take a look at this exchange right here, shall we?
Hi. First of all, I would like to thank you for your position on mandates. As a Jewish woman who cares for justice, I do have a question. It's been about a year since U.S. citizen and journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was shot by the IDF. It is known through both video and forensic science that it was definitely the IDF and that they targeted her. Are you willing to commit to calling for Israel to extradite the soldier to the U.S. with body cams for a public U.S. trial? She is a U.S. citizen and justice should be served. Also, let me finish.
You're not going to get two questions at once and pass this guy. He seems like the kind of guy to give you one at a time. Yeah.
Wait!
Yeah, exactly. Here we go.
Question at a time.
Sir, please let me finish. Also, please,
If you make it quick.
can you also commit to having a conversation one-on-one with Jewish Voice for Peace?
Okay, so
Why the boos? Like, what kind of an asshole do you have to be to boo that? Like, who could be booing at that? Right?
Well,
I mean, like I said,
the kind of people who would show up to this.
Who would show up to this event? Exactly.
let's be civil about this. What's your name, please?
My name is.
Okay, first of all, she was very civil about this. The people who were not being civil were the people who booed her when she asked a perfectly legitimate and reasonable question. Right? Well, let's be civil about this.
Thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Israel is
I mean, to be fair, I don't see anything nefarious in asking for a name. That's just a common speaking tactic.
Yeah, I don't know if there was anything there.
democracy with a free press.
I didn't ask you, by the way. I asked that. No.
What Bobby will answer in a second. I am going to correct.
Look at him sitting there. I mean, this is what I mean. This is just it's so debasing. It's so embarrassing that you're there at this event where now this guy's going to fight with her over the assassination of a Palestinian American journalist. She asked it to Bobby Kennedy. She didn't ask it to him. He's not running for anything. But how defensive to get up there and to pick this fight. And here it goes on. We're not even halfway through.
Correct misinformation. The IDF has now admitted that this renowned Palestinian journalist probably did die from an Israeli bullet during a shootout against terrorists. She was there covering it. When you said that she was deliberately targeted is an absolute lie.
She was definitely targeted.
You tell me another country that's going to admit to their war crimes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There is no way.
She covered dozens
There
of
is no
military.
way.
Wait.
He took a direct shot.
No. She covered dozens of
He should let me
military.
talk.
She covered dozens of military raids. Why did they wait to
It took a direct shot.
Say what?
It took a direct shot to get her between the helmet and the armor.
What is your source for this?
What my source? My source is forensics and the video.
I have no source.
And the video.
So Israel conducted a lengthy investigation about this, which is what they do always.
It's amazing. Okay, first of all, whether she was deliberately targeted or not, she was gunned down. She's a journalist who was gunned down. She's a U.S. citizen. Shouldn't we feel that some accountability is in order for this, right? Yeah. And then I like how he turns to Bobby. He turns to RFK and he starts telling him as if he's coaching him how to answer her. She's right there. She's right there. And he's giving him the lines right in front of the audience. And he's just sitting there thinking, what the hell am I going to say here? He does eventually say something. We'll get to that in a second.
Amazingly, they admitted it probably was an Israeli bullet. And unfortunately,
Mr. Kennedy,
who died. It was not probably an Israeli bullet. It was an Israeli bullet. That's widely known. That's been reported in every outlet under the sun.
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy, don't you think that, Mr. Kennedy, do you not think that this, I am Jewish, do not tell me that. Mr. Kennedy,
please, Jewish yourself.
Please don't you believe that the U.S. should be able to adjudicate this? She was a U.S. citizen. She was also a journalist. And again, do you also commit to sitting down with the Jewish Voice for Peace and having a conversation with them, or do those Jewish voices not count? Yes, they do. Thank you.
Okay, enough. Let him respond, and we're going to move on. Go ahead.
I don't know enough about the case to make a judgment about, extradition, and I don't know if we even have an extradition treaty for that particular crime.
That's not what she asked you.
No, that's not what she asked him. This is what I mean. This is more lawyer talk.
Process and yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then he says something even here,
or what the basis of it would be in Israel or Palestine or wherever the killing took place. I just couldn't answer your question.
The killing took place in Jenin, in the West Bank, which is where the raid was just a few weeks ago, where you said outrageously that the IDF acted valiantly, and that Israel was noble for sending IDF forces in to, quote, risk their lives in a security operation. I find it hard to believe he doesn't know where that happened. That was a huge story.
I was just going to say, first of all, if you're going to talk about this fucking subject as much as he does, and you don't know about this, maybe you should shut the fuck up. But of course he does know about it. He just doesn't want to address it, so he retreats to a very legalistic question of jurisdiction that really has nothing to do with the question she asked. This is why I keep trying to say, and you can, a couple people can go nuts in the chat. This guy is full of fucking shit. Okay? Listen, if there's one thing New Yorkers know, it's bullshit. Okay? We're known for having a good nose for bullshit artists. This guy is a fucking bullshit artist. This is why some people wonder why he pisses me off that much. I don't like bullshit artists. This is a fucking bullshit artist. It's not even like he's giving a bad answer or no. This guy is fucking full of shit.
Yeah, he knows he's got Shmuley there next to him. He can't say anything that's gonna piss him off because that blows up the whole event, right? And so he has to act like he doesn't know where it happened or how it happened, and then he, diverts to, well, I don't know if we have an extradition treaty.
I don't know.
Or what
Maybe we'd have to go to Switzerland.
Yeah,
and,
right. Exactly.
I think the Swiss. Shut the fuck up, man. I've had enough of this guy.
Since Israel is allies, they should be ours. Do you agree? All right. Thank you. You are on record. Thank you.
Great event. Really, really. What a fantastic thing. Again, why? I mean, what is in it for him politically? Even setting aside just how obviously full of garbage he was there. I agree with you. I mean, he doesn't know where it happened. Come on.
Yes.
That was a huge story when it happened. It was a huge story.
And there's the other thing, and this is what when we were pre-gaming this and talking about this story, and I've said this about him before. When you look at this Israel stuff, it's not about a political upside. It's that RFK is not anti-establishment. he's an older version of the establishment. His politics are frozen somewhere around the early 70s, around the time his father was politically active. Those guys were establishment. Hey, I hate to fucking tell you this, but the person who ordered Hoover to wiretap MLK was RFK. All right, the whole Kennedy myth, yeah, they did some good things. They also did a lot of bad things. There's a lot. The story of that family is tragic and it's complicated, and it's a lot less simple than these Camelot myths would have you believe. RFK, if you listen to how he talks, and the gray hairs, the Gen Xers and above will know what I'm talking about from memory. And the rest of you, watch some videos and documentaries of politics and politicians of that period, if you're not already very familiar with it. When you see him talking about capitalism as the solution to pollution, right? When you see him talking about how, it's just that the system needs to be enforced and it's not really a problem with capitalist incentives. When you see him talking this way about Israel, which would have been the absolute, not only conventional wisdom, but it would have been almost political suicide to have any position other than this circa 1980 or so. It's because these are establishment politics of his era. That is what you're seeing. You're seeing a very conventional Democrat circa 1972. And he's just never moved beyond that. That's why there's something about him that's evocative of an earlier era. But if we all are nostalgic for that, but I would argue, if anything, if you look at things like this, it shows you how much that nostalgia for those earlier eras is a little naive. Was it better than what we have now? Sure, absolutely. Even with everything that I'm saying about him, if you actually did give me a choice between him and Biden, I would vote for RFK, sure. You're not going to have that choice, but if I had that choice, sure. But that doesn't make him really anti-establishment in the way that people are making him out to be.
Please clap.